So the 10th anniversary of Heroes of the Storm just rolled around this month. I guess it came out in June 2015. And I wanted to talk about it because this is a game that I played off and on again much more recently, and I really enjoy. The longer time goes on, the more I enjoy it. I will go away from the game for a while and then come back. And it is a game where it has ceased in development in the sense that they are no longer adding new heroes to it. They're no longer adding new maps, new skins. Well, they did do a 10th anniversary skin recently, but for the most part, no new skins, no new nothing except for balance updates. They still do get balance patches, which is cool. And I think that if you haven't played a MOBA ever, that right now is actually the best time to play Heroes of the Storm. I think Heroes of the Storm is in the best spot it's ever been in. And even if you have played MOBAs, I'd say that you should check this out, but especially if you haven't ever played a MOBA. The reason being that this is a fantastic game, and I think that if you haven't already played MOBAs, you don't have a sort of mindset on what you think a MOBA should be, and that's a very good thing because this game does stuff a lot differently than other MOBAs do. That being said, I just want to talk about sort of the history of the game a little bit. When the game first came out, it was kind of critically panned. Famously, IGN gave it a 6.5 out of 10, which was thought of as incredible at the time because everyone joked that IGN's score started at a 7 out of 10, right? Like that was the lowest score that it would give out to anything. So it giving this game a 6.5 out of 10 was a huge deal at the time. And the developers actually, took that and they ran with it. They really integrated it into the game. There's tons of like references and banners to it. They had a 6.5-year anniversary a few years back. But another thing that led to it getting critically panned, I want to say, was twofold. It launched late in sort of the MOBA race. Dota 2 and League of Legends were already firmly established by 2015, and it kind of also showed up at the height of MOBA fatigue. At that point, everyone had already been making tons of MOBAs. Anyone watching this video has probably lived through the Battle Royale craze, the Dark Souls, Souls-like craze, which is still ongoing. There's so many Souls-like games still getting made. Now you're starting to see the cycle of the extraction shooter phase. There was also, of course, the hero shooter phase that Blizzard themselves started a year after this game launched. And so, before all of that, there was the MOBA phase where League of Legends and Dota 2 were doing super well, especially League of Legends. And so everyone had to make their own MOBA. Everything was a MOBA. And unfortunately, Heroes of the Storm came out, again, 2015, after this wave had long crested, and everyone had MOBA fatigue. They were sick of it. Nobody wanted fucking MOBAs anymore. Out comes Heroes of the Storm. And it really sucks because, as I'm going to go over, Heroes of the Storm is actually a really, 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 really unique game, not just in the MOBA space, but especially among MOBAs. They do a lot of really cool stuff. But before I get into that, I'm just going to say, I think a lot of the criticisms that they had have been addressed. So it wasn't just the fact that it was a MOBA coming out at a time when there were a lot of other MOBAs. When HOTS launched, it did something new, which is they had shared XP. So normally in a MOBA, what happens is you kill a guy, whether that be player-controlled character or one of the little AI's guys running around on the map, which are known as minions. That person gets the XP for it, right? The way that Heroes of the Storm does it is the teams share the XP. So if I kill a minion or a player, or if you kill a minion or a player, it doesn't matter. If we're on the same team, we all share that experience. What that meant was a lot of people felt like there wasn't the ability to sort of solo carry a game. They felt like they were hemmed down and artificially locked in place by this skill ceiling of the rest of their team, right? Because if the rest of their team wasn't getting experience at the same rate that you were, that would mean that you would be held back in your levels. And if the enemy team were all doing their jobs properly, they would out-level you. So it sort of forced you into, honestly, just teamwork. That's really what it is people are like, I don't want to work with my team, and I'm angry as a result of it. But that's not the way that people really saw it at the time. They saw it as just there being like a lack of skill expression, right? Like I can't solo carry and dominate. Like the way you would see in League of Legends and Dota 2, where there'd be people who'd be like 10, 15 levels above the rest of their team, and they're just stomping on everyone. And another big issue that people had with this was Heroes of the Storm, unlike other MOBAs, doesn't have items. Every time that you hit a designated level up point, so when you first spawn into the game, level 3, I think it's like every 3 or so levels, level 10 is a big one, you get a talent. And so the talents modify the way that your abilities work. And usually you get between like 3 and 4 options of talents at each talent tier. The middle talent tier at level 10 is when you pick your ult, and then at level 20 you get to pick a modifier for your ult, or usually some other options, like you can choose to modify existing abilities or add a new ability onto your character that you didn't start with, stuff like that. People saw that as being just an extreme dumbing down of the item system that you saw offered in League of Legends and Dota 2. And I guess you could say to a certain extent that it is that, an extreme oversimplification of the item system. But in reflection and over time, I think that people have realized that that talent system is actually a very good idea. If you look at the new Valve game Deadlock, they're also running with what is essentially a talent system now, as opposed to like a larger, sort of more overly complicated item system, which they initially were using but have moved away from. I think it's a great way to sort of mix things up. You also see the new Overwatch arenas using this system now, maybe even from feedback of the team members that used to work on this game, where you're basically picking talents as you progress to upgrade and modify and change the way that your abilities works, because these aren't just upgrades either. Like, it doesn't just make your ability, stronger, do more damage or whatever. It'll actually change the way that it works. You can have it so that potentially your escape also fires off some attacks while you're, getting away, or it makes it so that your basic attacks ricochet or something, or adds self-heal to your abilities or basic attacks, or expands the radius of your ability, or makes your ability apply one of your other abilities onto a target, stuff like that. I think it actually was sort of misunderstood when it launched as being like this dumbing down of the MOBA system, when in actuality it offers quite a bit of unique gameplay. Flash forward 10 years later and you've got a really cool, actually very understandable system. The other thing that Heroes of the Storm did, they did 2 more very different, very unique things. Is one, they've got multiple maps. Both the other, mainline existing MOBAs that are still around today, Dota 2 and League of Legends, all center around a single map that never changes. Heroes of the Storm has multiple maps. Some have different amounts of lanes. They're all different sizes, and they've got different objectives. That's right. In Dota and League of Legends, the only objective is to destroy all of the buildings of the enemy team. Mostly the enemy team's core, I guess, is what you're going for. In Heroes of the Storm, most of the time, yes, you're trying to destroy the enemy core, but you've got these objectives that help you do that. So you can assume control of a Dragon Knight. You can collect nukes and shoot them at the enemy base to blow them up that way. On another map, you can summon an immortal to destroy the enemy base for you. And on another map, you can curse the enemy team, so that way their buildings and minions can't fight back. So just a lot of different unique ways to win, different winning conditions for the maps, which are actually pretty cool and change the way that it plays, change which heroes that you want to take based on the map, which I like. Coming from non-MOBA games, the idea of having unique maps with unique objectives on them isn't crazy, right? You see that all the time. It's just weird that in MOBAs, they're like, no, we must only have one map and you must do the same thing every single time on it, which is weird that this was thought of as a negative at the time, but people didn't like that. The other thing that Heroes of the Storm did very right is they've got actually really, really unique heroes. And now that we've got the hero design filtering into every style of game, hero shooters is a big genre now. Obviously in MMOs, they've already had class archetypes, stuff like that. Seeing these heroes are unique even based on the kinds of heroes that are coming out in modern games. If you saw something like what you see in this game in, Valorant or Apex, you'd lose your mind. You've got heroes where you're controlling a bug man who sort of sits in the back line and places down little mines and little spores and comes in to aid and assist other players. You have one hero that is actually 3 heroes controlled by one person. You have one hero that is controlled by 2 people. You have a giant dragon that's immune to crowd control but can't be healed. You've got a tank that can turn into an artillery piece. You've got a lot of really creative, unique hero play here. And even the more sort of normal ones are usually would be considered like the more out there heroes in other kinds of games. It's actually pretty crazy the way that they do things. The great thing as well about the heroes is there's not a ton of them, right? I mean, you look at this page and it'll seem like a lot, but then you go and look at League of Legends and they've got like 140 characters that you've got to memorize. The amount that is in Heroes of the Storm, you can really really get a grasp for each of the heroes and what they do, and especially considering that they are unique, it helps that there's not a metric ton of them that you've got to memorize. And that is actually sort of brings me to my main overarching point, which is that now is the best time ever to play this game because they haven't been adding tons and tons and tons of new heroes over the years. It's fixed. You don't have to worry about stupid new content updates coming out and ruining everything. The game is in a great state, and since they've only been doing balance patches for the past few years, they've just really been honing what they've got into something that plays and feels great. If you have never experienced this type of game before, I highly recommend jumping in and giving it a try. It's free to play still. You can get it, I think now, because Activision and Blizzard was bought by Microsoft, I think they've got it on Games for Windows Live, which, you know, nobody uses, or you can just download the Blizzard launcher and it's on there. It's absolutely worth it, I would say. It's super, super fun. It's very chill and laid back. You don't have to be super sweaty in that game. There will be some toxic people in it. There are toxic people in every game, so don't worry about it. The other really cool thing about it is that graphically it has aged amazingly over the past 10 years. It still looks as good or better than League of Legends and Dota 2, which have both had visual upgrades over the past couple of years, and this honestly still looks better than either one of them. There's a lot of cool skins in there. Everything is achievable for free. Again, they don't really expect to be making money on this anymore. It's still got loot boxes because the 2010s were the era of loot boxes. You earn those for free just by leveling up, so you can get a decent amount of cosmetics in this game for free. I haven't bought anything that you're seeing on screen right now. I've gotten it all for free through playing the game. All of the characters are unlockable via playing the game, and it doesn't take too long to unlock them. Maybe like a week of not even solid play, just like an hour or two a day, you can unlock a character a week. And they've got a free rotation, so there'll always be, I think it's like 7 or so heroes available to play for free, even if you didn't give the in-game currency to unlock them permanently. And it's just a fun time. Grab some friends, play the game, mess around, enjoy yourself, and don't worry about battle passes or any other crap. I play it as a way to wind down after a particularly exerting game of the finals or something like that. At the end of the night, the guys that I play with, we all hop over on the Heroes of the Storm and play with our more casual friends, because we can have 5 players in this game instead of just 3, so we can get more people in on it. It's a great party game for that reason, and I really like it. And I think that it was unfairly given a bad rep early on. I think that it is underrated severely, and yeah, go check it out. I'm not sponsored or paid or anything. I think it's a cool game. Play it while you can, because who knows how long Blizzard or I guess Microsoft is going to be willing to keep this thing running when it's not making money. So definitely check it out for that reason. All right, see you guys in the next video.